What's going on, Falcon fan? This is your boy Ricondo coming back at you with another video. So today, guys, we're going to talk about pre-free agency. Yes, we're going to talk about all the movement that's going on around this league, and I mean, this is one of the most exciting times, right? I think about it. We had 10 new head coaches, you know, field this off season. So it's a lot of newness around the league, as far as, you know, mindsets and schemes. Everybody comes into the season talking about they want to win the Super Bowl. So it's a lot of things when you think about it from a, newness standpoint. It's going to be interesting to see a lot about all the movement, right? Of course, you know, this is Atlanta Falcons show, so we're always going to, talk about those guys, talk about our team as well. And when we talk about Atlanta Falcons, they got a whole new regime up in the front office. So, other teams got some new GMs. You look at the Miami Dolphins, right? But 10 new head coaches out there, right? A lot of new different philosophies of how teams want to build their teams around. We got a lot of teams that got questions all over the place. So it's a lot of interesting things we think about this year, and we talking about this pre-free agency, right? There should be a lot of movement, and how active will our Atlanta Falcons be? That's what we're going to talk about today. So with that being said, guys, if you have not already, go ahead and please subscribe to the channel. Please hit that notification bell so you know I drop another video. Please hit the like button so I know you guys are here to talk about. Then please share my video throughout the YouTube universe so more people can come hear me talk about. That's right, these Atlanta Falcons. However, we're going to talk about all the teams today, right? Not just on the Falcons. We will end with the Falcons, though. Trust me. We got to talk about how this whole big big free agency thing is it's going to affect Atlanta Falcons, but affect the league as well, right? Um, First thing we'll talk about is the fact that the NFL just announced that teams they changed it. It's a new free agency rule they just came up with. Teams are allowed during this 2 day negotiation period, which starts tomorrow on the 9th. Teams allowed to talk directly to the players, up to 5 players. So that's something new, right? Before they had to talk to the agents and stuff like that, but now they're actually allowed to talk directly to the players. They got up to 5 players to talk to. So that's a good rule, right? That's one of the good rules that when you're thinking about um, what the Atlanta Falcons could do, because I'm always going to talk about our Falcons, right? They have to get up to talk to 5 different players, but all the teams around the league with this free agency, the movement, all the big movements around the league, that's what we're thinking about, and that's what we're going to consider with this move. Um, so on this Sunday, guys, free agency eve, right? That's what we're going to call it, free agency eve. One of the things I really wanted to touch bases with you first is the fact that the player movement, right? And I think this is an important topic to talk about first. Um, is when we talk about player movement, Eddie says it better be 5 that can be signed up front. You're right, because if they let them get out the door, more than likely they probably they got opportunities around, right? But when we talk about player movement, right? Um, One of the things that interested me, right, and us as fans, right, because we love our team, right, and we get really upset with players that don't want to play for the team, and you know you call them greedy and things like that because they want to in their contract disputes and things like that. But what we fail to see during this time of the period, this time of the year, how many players get cut from teams, right? And and some of these guys are forced to move, right? Um, it's been I wish I had the number right off my head. What's going on, T Terry? Wish I had the number right off my head, but how many players have been cut from teams, right? Um, and some of these guys did not want to be cut, right? It wasn't their desire to be cut and go to another team, move their family around and things like that, right? But then when they want to you know go for a new contract, you want that guy to take a discount and things like that, right? So we have to look at it both sides. The billionaires always is going to have the upper hand, but once that guaranteed money is gone for the most part, players get cut, man, and that's how it happens. And then a lot of players, you know, it's forced. Some players not even forced to find another team, right? Some players have to retire. That's why you look at the league. They said what the the lifespan of most NFL players is like 4 years in this league, right? So if you're lucky enough to play longer than that, you know you need to tip your head off for that. So that's some of the things you think about. But when you thinking about all the movement around, a lot of these players then has to be moved. They got cut from teams, and that's the business. I get it, but at the same time, as us as fans, when guys are up for contracts and they're trying to fight for everything they need to fight about, you should understand that because at a drop of a dime, the team can make a decision to be like, we don't want that guy no more. We're going to replace you with somebody else um, for cheaper or whatever, all the things you got to do. So I do not blame these guys because they don't know how long their lifespan is the NFL is going to be. So they need to get all the money they can because that's their livelihood and that's the way you look at it. And that's the way as fans we should look at it too. So when guys up for contract dispute, we need to stay out of it, man. Hopefully we hope our favorite player get to stay with the team and things like that. But we shouldn't expect these guys to take pay cuts for us and stay with our team because we love our team. We love our team. And yeah, we gonna hate on them. They go somewhere else, but we should be understanding about it because the way they cut players in this league is ridiculous, and it's so many players got cut this year, um, and moving on and stuff like that. Now, even players that was productive, you go look at some of these guys that they didn't have a bad season last year. Just they didn't fit the cap situation. The players they had to play somebody else and things like that, and then they start to cut players. Man, it is what it is. So even the great Jerry Rice did not stay with the San Francisco 49ers his whole career, right? He got moved to the Raiders, right? So Emmitt Smith, for him to break the all-time rushing record, he had to go to the Arizona Cardinals, right? You look at some of these teams. Look at Grady Jarrett, right? 10 years with the Falcons. We call him Mr. Falcon himself, and what happened to him, right? We let him go. Julio, Matt, even Matt Ryan got traded. So these teams are not loyal to the players, you know. So the players need to get all they can get out of these teams, and we need to understand that fans, we need to be on the player side. They're just going to throw it out there. We are with the teams. We love our teams, but sometimes, man, these players begin screwed. And look at the player movement this year alone that we're going to see, and you'll see what I mean about that. Happy Sunday, everybody. Everybody chiming in. Eddie says, right, if I can get paid, I'm moving because the NFL is guaranteed from year to year, 100%. Um, the long term financial protections. That's right, right. That's why a lot of these guys are like playing on franchise tags, right? Now you're gonna get a lot of money to your franchise tag, but there's no security there, or you get hurt or something like that. Um, you never know. So, like for an example, you got a guy like George Pickens, you got a guy like Kyle Pitts, right? Um, I don't think neither one of those guys signed their franchise tags. Now the OTA start April 7th. When those guys showed the OTAs before they signed their franchise tag, that's a question, right? Because if they get hurt, they haven't signed their franchise tag yet. And I was thinking about this. What if the team like, well, you got hurt, we don't want to give you the franchise tag anymore, we're gonna pull it because they could pull a franchise tag. So I was just wondering about things like that. That'd be bad in bad faith, but that'd be screwed up, right? So you think about it like that. So just wanted to throw it out about the player movement because so many guys been released, um, and you like wow. So all these guys that talented got to find new homes, which help out a lot of other teams, right? That's the beauty of it when you think about these some of these great players that actually getting released and things like that. And some players they actually they just became free agents, right? They didn't get a new deal, and in that case, you can't really fault the team, other player because they couldn't come to agreement on a new deal, or the team decided to move in a different direction, which is fine too, right? But what I'm talking about is you sign a 4-year deal, right? And then on the second year, when all your guarantee is gone, they throw you out the door, right? That's what I mean by the whole, you know, they gonna do what they got to do, right? Now, some of these teams have to make decisions because they got to get up under the cap, right? They have to be up under the cap by Wednesday, and so that's one of the biggest things that you look at. Some of these teams have to make decisions on roster moves because of that situation. All right, so what we're going to get into, guys? Let's talk about the free agency frenzy, right? It's going to be running hard for about like the next 10 days probably. So then it'll die down, right? Because next 10 days, all the teams that got all that money, right? It's going to spend, and then the teams that don't have money, they'll be able to get guys that's trying to find teams, and they're going to get some good quality guys too. Just believe that, right? Right. But what I want to do today, um, I started with we're going to talk about the most important position, right? And all the teams that need a quarterback, right? They have a quarterback question mark. Um, is what we're going to talk about first today. We talk about free agency frenzy, and why I want to talk about that because I think that's the most important position in the league, and it's so many teams that's thinking about a quarterback, but a lot of these quarterbacks have so much options they can do because they are free agents, right? So they don't have to like um, just go to a certain team. So many quarterbacks need teams, so they're going to try to pick the best situation for them. You know, how the team playoff can I start? You come bring me in for a backup. What's the pay look like? All those kind of things. So that's all the things the free agents got to consider. But the team, you're right. You look at it from a team aspect, and you're going to kind of figure out what teams have to do too. So first team we're going to talk about is the Arizona Cardinals, right? We talk about Arizona Cardinals, right? So the Arizona Cardinals is the first team we're going to talk about, right? And I got this, from Fox News, right? So you go look at Fox Sports, and some of the ideas that they threw out. So these are not, particularly my ideas, but when we looking at what they was thinking about with quarterbacks and things like that, what they could potentially do, right? I thought it was intriguing when I talked about it. So Arizona, you know, we're going to go like a plan A, a plan B here. And you're looking at Arizona Cardinals, they could be looking at keeping Jacoby Brissett, right? Jacoby Brissett, he's not a free agent. He's still up on the contract. And they could also be looking at a guy like Tua Tagovailoa, right? When you look at a guy like Tua Tagovailoa, he hasn't been released yet, so it's gonna be interesting to see. Everybody expect him to be released, but we have not heard that from the Miami Dolphins yet. So right now, Tua's still with the Dolphins. They still trying to, maybe see they can get a trade, but people still thinking he's gonna be released. So Tua could actually go to Arizona, which is a really good situation for him because of the offense that Mike LaFleur is going to be running, right? That's one of the things. So either going with keeping Jacoby Brissett or bringing in a guy like Tua Tagovailoa, right? They could also consider a guy like Kirk Cousins as well, right? That's what they could think. Now the plan B would be, going trying to get a Ty Simpson in the draft, right? Maybe in the second round, or bringing a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo, another guy that could probably run that that offense as well, right? So um, those are some of the situations. Now I talked about three free agents. One guy still up on the contract, and then the draftee, right? So Jacoby said is still up on the contract because they want to run it back with him, right? And you look at it in this way: they go with Jacoby said, try to tank maybe for oh, there we go. We're back. We're back. My sorry about that, guys. Right? Or they can go get a quarterback that they draft this get a quarterback they draft this year, but it depends on what Arizona decide to do. So Eddie says Arizona, they're also leaning hard on Malik Willis now too. Right? That's another guy they you throw in the mix, right? Malik Willis. Right? We're gonna hear his name a couple of times. Right? So Arizona Cardinals, Tua, Cobra said I threw in Kirk Cousins. They talking about maybe going to get like a Ty Simpson, or bringing a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo. All those guys could run Mike LaFleur offense, and they could be a consideration for them moving forward. Um, the next team that's got quarterback question marks is the Cleveland Browns, right? Cleveland Browns. They got Shador Sanders there, Dylan Gabriel. They also got Deshaun Watson. The reason I bring these guys up because their general manager Andrew Berry has constantly said that they're not 100% sold on their quarterback situation, right? He's still thinking about it. So when you say something like that, it could be avenues where they could go with it, right? They could bring in a guy like Russell Wilson, believe it or not, um, and sign him and see if you let Russ cook. Um, in my opinion, I think they should give Shador opportunity, right? And let him actually compete against Deshaun, with Deshaun Watson, right? I think that probably would be the best thing for them. I think they got capable quarterbacks already on their squad with Todd Monken. That's what I think they should do. Don't invest in the quarterback position. You invested in it twice last season. Um, I think you should play it out and see what you got after your two rookies and um, Deshaun Watson and go from there. That's just my opinion about the Cleveland Browns. But you never know what the Cleveland Browns decide to do. So that's where looking at the guys, somebody like the Cleveland Browns, and you would just hope that the general manager is going to say, "We got the guys we want, and we're going to let them compete for a starting role here with the Cleveland Browns." Right. Other team would be the Indianapolis Colts. Right. They do not know, you know, how long the timeline for Daniel Jones. He had Achilles tear. Right. So um, they put a transition tag on him, see if a team will try to come out and offer him offer him a contract or they can match. Right? If a team offers a contract and they let him go, they will also have to give up two draft picks as well. I don't remember which two draft picks, which I think it's like a second and a third. I'm not 100% sure, but if they do that transition tag and the team signs the quarterback and they don't match it right, they're gonna get some draft capital off of that. So and then they have options. They can go with a guy like maybe a Tyrod Taylor or even a Kirk Cousins. Bring a Kirk Cousins in and go down that road with the Indianapolis Colts. So you know, they sounds like they want Daniel Jones back, but they're not willing to pay or exorbitant amount of money for it. So they let him go out and test the free agency. They can match any deal that he gets. And if they can't match it, right, they could get some draft capital off of that. So that's the smart thing to do when you think about the Indianapolis Colts. But guys like Tyrod Taylor, Kirk Cousins, um, Malik Willis, will throw him out there every time. And we'll see, what they decide. Even the Kyler Murray, we haven't talked about Kyler Murray as well, but he could be somebody that the Indianapolis Colts could consider. So there you have it with the Indianapolis Colts. Um, Let's go to the Raiders. Eddie says, I expect Cleveland to look for Todd Monken, a type quarterback, dual threat fully. We'll see. We'll see what Todd want to do. But I see your point on that. Um, let's go to the Las Vegas Raiders, right? Everybody expect Las Vegas Raiders to draft Fernando Mendoza, right? They could definitely do that. Or they could go the veteran route, bring in a Russell Wilson, bring in Joe Flacco, or they could pick, trade back and give up that first round pick, and then try to go for a guy like Ty Simpson later on. So, they have options they can do. They just traded away their pass rusher for two first round picks. So they got a lot of draft capital that they could pretty much do a lot of things they want to do. I think they need to utilize that draft capital to build within the draft. Um, Personally, I think that it's a foregone conclusion that Fernando Mendoza is going number one, but you never know. They still got another month and a half to go before that is determined about what they decide to do with the Las Vegas Raiders. But with all the draft capital they got, um, what they got from Max Crosby is huge. So really going to be interesting what the Las Vegas Raiders do. But I think most people thinking they're going to take Fernando Mendoza at number one, and their quarterback situation will be solidified. They did release Geno Smith. They got um McConnell there. I think that's his name. We just talked about him, but he's there as well. So they have solid quarterback play. You know they're gonna have to let the young guy learn in Mendoza if they do decide to draft him. Right, next team is the Miami Dolphins. You think about the Miami Dolphins. Um, the verdict right now is those two guys. It's pretty simple. If they let Tua go, like it's leaning that way, um, they're gonna bring in a guy like Malik Willis, who has ties with the head coach there because he was with Green Bay last year, and then maybe even bringing a guy like Kyler Murray in. Right, so the Dolphins have options here where they can go. They can go with a known commodity by the coach and Malik Willis, depending on his contract situation, and then bringing in a guy like Kyler Murray. Um, that's a lot of different things that the Miami Dolphins could consider to do. Um, Next, Minnesota Vikings. The word on the street that Kyler Murray is who they're really looking into. To start over JJ McCarthy. They could bring in a Geno Smith, right? Another name somebody threw out was a Derek Carr, Anthony Richardson, and if you bring in a guy like Derek Carr, Anthony Richardson, let those guys compete with McCarthy. But right now it's leaning like it might be Kyler Murray, who they're going to bring in. That's probably a potential starter for the Minnesota Vikings. We'll see how that plays out. Um, JJ McCarthy only got 10 starts in his career, and they already don't gave up on him. That is insane. But sometimes when you know early, and if they know you have opportunity to get a guy like Kyler Murray, who's proven not to be, this magnificent quarterback, but he does have traits that would definitely help um, the Minnesota Viking team, especially with the defense they got, the weapons they got on the outside with JJ and Addison. So they got Jones in the backfield. So they got a pretty solid squad, guys. So bringing in Kyler Murray, a lot of people think they would be an instant, contender in the NFC. So um, we'll see what the Minnesota Vikings decide to do. Next team will be the New York Jets. Right now, the word on the street that they could trade for Matt Jones for the right price, right? Or they could, go veteran route and have a gap year and try to tank for 2027. They could do that. If they do that, I don't think Aaron Glenn will be back. They decide to make that decision to to tank again based off the way he coached this past season. I don't think he can afford it. I think he needs to try to win this year to save his job. They could drafted Ty Simpson, right? Um, so they have a lot of different options with the Jets. There's another team that got a lot of draft capital based off the trades they made last year. So they have an opportunity to, you know, um, to go a lot of different directions. There, I say they bring back Geno Smith or even uh, um, Josh Wilson. They could bring back both of those guys, right? Um, that was with the Jets before. I don't know if those guys are willing to go back into the organization, but they could go after Malik Willis. They can go after Kyler Murray as well, or they can bring in Kirk Cousins. So they have opportunity, across the board to be able to do with the Jets. And I think the way they set it up to build this team, right? But like I said, Aaron Glenn, he has to try to put a winning product out there this year. So it's going to be interesting to see what Aaron Glenn decides to do, right? Next team, Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers, they always waiting on Aaron Rodgers. I don't know why they do that. They could draft a Ty Simpson, right? Or they can see could they, take a flyer on Kyler Murray as well, right? Um, could throw out Kirk Cousins there at the same time. So it's some opportunities that the Pittsburgh Steelers should do. Pittsburgh Steelers need to just bite the bullet and go out and get them a young quarterback and try to grow that way. This is my opinion. Keep trying to put these band-aids on stuff. You're never going to get to where you want to do. So I don't like the fact that um, that the Pittsburgh Steelers will not keep waiting on a guy like Aaron Rodgers, man. It's just crazy. Um, Eddie says KK has stated that he really likes Aiden McConnell, and and the quarterbacks looking the draft as well. So you're talking about the Raiders, right? Yeah. So they got Aiden McConnell there, and they get Fernando Mendoza. That would definitely be opportunity for those guys. What else said? Another rumor: Kyler Murray Kemp has stated there are three teams: Minnesota, Atlanta, and New Jersey. Just now, there you go. Those are three teams that he's considered. I think Minnesota might be up, um, up for grabs. So we'll see what Kyler Murray decide to do. Um, right? Yeah, there you have it. 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 Right? There's one team we didn't talk about, guys, and I waited to the last to talk about them, of course, and that's our Atlanta Falcons. Right? We talk about quarterback situation is still is it's a conundrum what the Atlanta Falcons going to do, and really what it really boils down about our Atlanta Falcons when it comes to the quarterback position is that what do they think about Michael Penix Jr. right, and what do they think about his health, what do they think about what kind of quarterback he can be for the future of the team, right? Those are decisions that the Atlanta Falcons got to make, right? They have to bring in a quarterback no matter what. We already know that, right? It has to be a quarterback. So they're going to bring in a quarterback no matter what. The decision is, do they want to bring in a quarterback to actually say you're the starter, you have opportunity to be the starter here in this Atlanta Falcons franchise, and you know it's also well for Michael Penix Jr. Or is we want to bring you in to win games for us, but when Michael Penix is healthy, he's going to be our guy. We're going to give him an opportunity to start, right? That's the mindset we don't know from this Atlanta Falcons organization right now. So right now, I hate to say it, but a lot of people, don't like the fact that one of the guys that people keep targeting for the Atlanta Falcons is Joe Flacco. Now, it was word put out today that Joe Flacco said he wanted to be a starter, right? Have an opportunity to start, right? He does understand that he could be a backup, but he wanted to have an opportunity to start. So that's one of the things he mentioned. Um, and then another guy people keep throwing around is Tua Tagovailoa. Of course, Kyler Murray is always going to be thrown around, but Tua is another guy that if he's released, come in. Only upside for bringing a guy like Tua in, I'm be honest with you, is he left-handed. So when they create plays, they create it for left-handed quarterbacks. Michael Penix left-handed, Tua left-handed. That's the only positive I can see bringing in Tua Tagovailoa. Um, he's an accurate quarterback, but with his injury, bringing in a guy like Tua to me is like bringing in another injury-prone guy that that had enough time to prove that he could be the guy for this team, right? So those are what people thinking about right now. Kyler Murray, Joe Flacco, Tua Tagovailoa has been thrown out there. I want to throw out guys like a Jimmy Garoppolo, right? Because I'm thinking about giving Michael Penix an opportunity. So when I think about the quarterback position for the Atlanta Falcons, I think about all those things. So those what we got to think about when we're thinking about this whole quarterback conundrum around the league, right? It's not a lot of big flashy names out there. It's a lot of unproven guys, in my opinion. A lot of guys that's been in a while that hasn't proven that they could be a long time starter for for a team, right? Except for a guy like Joe Flacco or look at a guy like Kirk Cousins, but all those guys are older guys that you're going to bring in. You're still going to have a quarterback of the future in mind. So that's what I think about when I think about quarterbacks. But for the Atlanta Falcons, um, it'll be going to be really interesting what they think about the quarterback, and Michael Penix they have in the building and how they decide to build a quarterback room for 2026. That's going to be interesting to see. Um, T. Terry says, Ricondo, I was just reading that A's baseball teams offering Kyler Murray offered to play baseball if he is cut from drafted them in 2018. He's trying to do both that Bo Jackson thing. Don't say Bo Jackson. Say Deion Sanders. How about that? Bo Jackson too, but Deion did it longer because Bo got hurt. Remember? So good for Kyler Murray if he decided to do that. How high is Penix's ceiling? That's the great question. We don't know how high Penix's ceiling is. Um, he has the arm talent. He has the ability to throw anticipation. He has the athletic ability if he's willing to use it. So he has all the tools to be a good quarterback. The biggest thing is his question mark of him is his health, right? That's one of the things you got to think about. You think about Michael Penix, but it's still the opportunity to be. Going to throw out a comp out there. Let's say Warren Moon, the way he throws the ball, right? And I'm going old school, right? Because I can't think of somebody in modern days time. So I look at a guy like Warren Moon. You know, a lot of people want to compare his arm talent to a guy like Matthew Stafford, and I definitely can see that, right? Because he does have the arm talent, the way he throws the ball. But when I think about a quarterback that wants to sit in the pocket like Michael Penix want to do, which I think he needs to be able to be more mobile because he has the athletic ability to do that. But I think about a guy like Warren Moon, right? His being able to throw the ball. Um, Tua can play a pass happy system, but he is super high risk. If he falls to the ground, it's a concussion, for an example. Exactly. That's what I feel. I 100% agree with you. Right? You can't tackle this guy, right? So, yeah, I don't like the idea of bringing in a Tua Tagovailoa. Just me, honestly, I don't like it. So, yeah, yeah, I agree with you 100%. All right, guys, let's do something that's when we talk about free agents, right? Let's talk about a couple of the free agents that's out there, and what their dollar value could garner them, you know, based off what this was reported right now. This is from ESPN, and right now, this is what a lot of people thinking these players, their dollar value could get them in free agency. So when we're thinking about this, and you think about what teams they might want to go to, and it's going to factor in now, right? Those teams that's up top, they got a lot of money. A lot of those teams don't really need quarterbacks, right? You look at a guy like a team like Tennessee. You look at a team like the Patriots, right? They got money. Um, but then there are teams like the Jets and teams like that that's higher up on the salary cap space, and they could offer a lot for guys, right? So when we talk about the top 10 teams that's got cap space, let me see here. So you're looking at the top 10 teams that got cap space. The Raiders need a quarterback. The Titans don't need a quarterback. The Chargers don't need a quarterback. The Commanders do not need a quarterback. The Jets, yes, they need a quarterback. That's two teams. The Seahawks don't need a quarterback. The Cardinals do. The Bengals don't. The Steelers do. The Patriots don't. The 49ers don't. The Texans don't. The Rams don't. The Chiefs don't. The Broncos don't. The Aints, I think they found their guy. The Buccaneers don't. The Browns, maybe. The Giants don't. Eagles don't. The Packers don't. The Panthers think they might have found their guy in Bryce Young. Then the Falcons way down the list there. So those are the teams when we start talking about cap space. So go over some players, what they might garner in this free agency period, and you look at some of the teams with cap space. Some of these guys are not going to get where they think they're going to go, right? So the first guy on the list is Malik Willis, right? And this right here, in my opinion, is the craziest, evaluation of a guy after having 6 starts in his career, and it's saying that his projected contract could be $44 million, 32 million guaranteed. And I guess I get it, but I just don't understand that. You know, 6 starts in his career, 3-3, and his projection is 44 million, $32 million guaranteed. So you look at teams like the Cardinals, um, are they willing to go there? The Jets, are they willing to go there? Right? Um, those are the teams that would have that kind of cap space that needed as a quarterback needed team that would go that way. You look at a team like the Dolphins. Um, the Dolphins, they're currently sitting at $3 million in cap space, right? So that's why we're thinking about Tua Tagovailoa. If they decide to let him go, they're going to a lot of cap space. So right now they're sitting at like 3 million. So if they do make a post June 1 cut on Tua, that probably moves them up, and then they probably could pursue a guy like Malik Willis. So Malik right now, Malik Willis, 44 million, 32 million guaranteed. That's a 2-year contract. The next guy on the list is Kenneth Walker. We're going to get into the running backs now. A 3-year deal, 44 million, 22 million guaranteed. What team is willing to go get the Super Bowl MVP and Kenneth Walker? Travis Etienne, another guy, 3 years, 39 million, 20 million guaranteed. Um, Looking at all these contracts right here, it's kind of send a pace for what Bijan might can get as well. So just think about that when we talk about the running backs. But Kenneth Walker and Travis Etienne, pretty, two solid running backs that's out there that teams that need running backs can go look. But it's a lot of running backs in the draft, so are they willing to pay that for these two guys? Let's talk about the receivers that's out there. Alec Pierce, right now, 3 years, $80 million, 55 million guaranteed. Right, that 3 years will put him at how much a year? Right, because that's what you're trying to factor in for Alec Pierce. All right, that put him at 26 million a year. I don't think he's going. I think he's getting more than that. To be honest with you, I think Alec Pierce is going to get more than $26 million a year. So that's kind of low end. You look at a guy like Mike Evans next on the list. 1 year, 15 million. Mike Evans getting long in the tooth. It was reported today that he's going to test out the free agency market. So he's going to get teams definitely going to try to target him. Look at a team like the Buffalo Bills that missed out on. I don't know, Buffalo Bills got their guy. Look at a team like the New England Patriots, right? That missed out on DJ Moore. They can't get AJ Brown because their asking price is too high. They might go for a guy like Mike Evans, right? That definitely helped that young quarterback out and Drake May. If Mike Evans go to New England, um, but a lot of people expect Mike Evans to go back to Tampa. You look at Rashid Shaheed, right? Super Bowl winning, 3 years, $40 million. I think that's not bad for Rashid Shaheed. Um, think about that. It's only about $14 million a year, $13 million a year, so that's not bad at all. We think about Rashid, he has that element of being a returner as well. So you bring a guy in that's going to stretch the field for you. You can utilize him in special teams for $13 million a year. Um, I think about the Falcons. That'd be pretty good for them, right? They just got off Darnell Mooney, who was costing 18 million. You get another guy that can take the top off. Also utilize him in special teams as well. For 13 million is not bad at all. He says, and that's what the agent is asking, and that's why Indy is having a hard time resigning him. Yeah, because that's crazy for Alec Pierce. Good point on that. Last receiver is Romeo Dobbs, right? Think about a guy like Romeo Dobbs. Right now, going price is 3 years, 49 million, 30 million guaranteed. Um, that's sitting at about $16 million a year, right? They kind of lowballing these receivers a little bit, man. You know, and I think some of these guys, basically looking at the wide receiver market, you look at Jamar Chase getting 40 million a year, right? And I'm not saying they should get that much, right? But man, wow, 16, $13 million for receivers. that to me, those are good deals for guys that really could, you know, be really important for your team, for the next year. So look at a couple of offensive linemen. Rasheed Walker out of Green Bay, 4 years, $80 million, $50 million guaranteed. Offensive tackle, you can never have enough offensive linemen. Um, Offensive linemen is going to get paid no matter what. So you gotta like that when you think about you know looking at offensive linemen. So Rasheed Walker is definitely going to probably get some money there. Tyler Linderbaum, center. What can you say about a center, man? You always got to have a center on your roster. Tyler Linderbaum is really, really something about to consider. 4 years, 90 million, 60 million guaranteed. That put him at 20, 22.5 million a year for a center, and I think he might be able to get that so with a team, right? He's a proven center. No, the Baltimore Ravens probably want to bring him back, but if he's going to get 4 years, 90 million, they might not be able to sign him, especially now because you're going to have to give Max Crosby a new contract, especially giving up 2 draft picks. You're going to pay him, so we'll see what happens with the whole Tyler Linderbaum center thing. I think the Falcons are going to draft Zachary Branch, wide receiver out of Georgia. You can see that, right? But we don't know if they're going to be there when they get ready to draft. So that's one of the things to consider. But that's a great point when you think about Zachariah Branch. Um, Trey Henderson, right? Is the next guy edge. We're going to edge now. So the Falcons need to put their ears up on this, especially with the James Pierce Jr. situation, right? Trey Henderson is 3 years, 84 million. A little bit older guy. I think he's 31, 32 years old. So when you think about that, do you want to go down that road? But that's 28 million a year for Trey Henderson. Um, we'll see if a team is willing to pay him that much. Um, his last year he was more injured than anything. But 2 years prior to that, he had over 17 and a half sacks. So the production was there 2 years ago. We'll know if some guys fall off the cliff, so you never you can't be surprised about that. Um, Jalen Phillips, released from the Miami Dolphins, 4 years and 92 million. These are all your edge rushers, guys. He's probably him and Trey Henderson are probably the two biggest edge rushers that's out there right now. Um, but 92 million puts him at $23 million a year, give or take, right? Um, um, Ofe Owe, the pass rusher coming out of Kansas City. They definitely, I mean, not Kansas City, but the Baltimore Ravens, they definitely probably gonna let him go since they got Max Crosby. So he's gonna be excuse me, he's gonna be a free agent. 4 years, 76 million right now. Where they're thinking about getting him. That'll put you at $19 million a year. Pass rushers come expensive. When you're looking at a team like the Atlanta Falcons, this is when you start to think about um, James Pierce Jr. situation. And do the Falcons, want to pay a guy 19 million? They're not 100% sure what's going to happen with James Pierce Jr. Right? Um, Look at Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack was able to get his money, 1 year deal. He's off the books. Arye Mafe, another edge. Contract projections is 3 years, 48 million. That's about $16 million a year for him. Um, John Franklin Myers, we talked about him a lot on this channel. His production that he had in Denver has been really, really good. Um, he's right now, it's 3 years, $40 million. I think somebody can deal with that right there if that's what he's asking. Um, we'll just have to see if that's a true projection for him. Um, 15 million guaranteed. That's not bad at all, man. I'll pull the trigger on him right now if that's all he wants. 3 years, $40 million, 15 million guaranteed. John Franklin Myers. I'll pull the trigger on him right away. Um, Linebackers, Devin Lloyd. Of course, we know by his production he had in the Jacksonville Jaguars. Um, 4 years, 56 million. when you're looking at these 4-year contracts, 3-year contracts, these guys are a little bit younger, so they factor in they can keep them a little bit longer here. Um, Quay Walker, 3 years, 42 million, 20 million guaranteed. Um, Another guy that Atlanta Falcons definitely could be looking at because they might lose Kate Nellis. Um, Montarik Brown, cornerback, um, 3 years, $30 million, 15 million guaranteed. That's 10 million a year for a cornerback. If he's solid, that is probably always worth it. Jalen Watson, so it's a nice corner, 3 years, $50 million, right? That's about $16 million a year. You know, if you can get away with that, that'd be good. And then you got safety Brian Cook, 3 years, 42 million, 20 million guaranteed. Right. So those are some of the guys that it's so many other free agents out there. Just talk about some of the top free agents out there that definitely that people are going to be looking at. And right now, what their projected contract is, but there's so many more guys out there. So honorable mention guys that you want to look at that could be, factors on team is Taysom Hill. Um, he's been with the Saints forever. Do Sean Payton try to bring him back over to Denver because he knows it. Brandon Aubrey. Um, I think the Dallas Cowboys put a tender on him, um, so he had to sign that tender. It, I think it was like $5 million, but he's the best kicker in the league. So the Cowboys better not let him out the door. That'd be kind of crazy if they decide to do that. Wandale Robinson, um, what he was able to do with the Giants last year, I think is going to get him a good, nice little payday. What they might decide to do with him. You got the guard, um, David Edwards, right? Um, Started for the Buffalo Bills. Like I said, offensive lineman is a premium, position to have. The more of those you got, the better because you want to protect your quarterback. And then Clayvon Chason is another edge. He's only 26 years old. Um, Another guy you can bring in and see what we're able to do. He had a good year for the Patriots this past season, so somebody can come in and be a depth pass rusher. But those are some honorable mention guys, right? Didn't talk about none of the Atlanta Falcons free agents, right? Because we know about those guys already. David Amanyada, Kay Nellis, Tyler Algier. Of course, those guys is going to be highly sorted out there as well. So um, we add those guys to the mix and what their projections are. Um, but there's so many other free agents out there that I did not talk about. Um, that's going to get get a lot of attention as well. So a lot of players go out and it's all about building your team the right way, right? When you talk about team building, you want to go get older guys. You want to have a mixture of vets and young guys right on your squad. Um, you know, some of these free agents where teams going to be thinking they just like one or two guys away. You go get that plug and play, fill these holes and gaps and things like that. Then there's other teams that you know it's part of the team building process, and they know that bringing a guy in like this can help build them for the future. So that's the way you look at it when you think about it. Um, like I said, I think it's going after Myers from what I'm hearing. What Myers you talking about? Oh, you talking about Jacoby Myers? Okay, cool. Denver is probably going to get Kay Nellis. Who is Chase Ellis, man? Who is Chase Ellis? I guess you're thinking about Kay Nellis. His brother plays for them, so I can see that. Both brothers on the same team. Did you just see Trent McDuffie record-breaking deal? I did not see that deal. Let's see. Did not pop up on my feed. I usually get all these. Let me see. There it is. Woo! The Rams and Trent McDuffie reached an agreement today on a record 4-year, $124 million extension that includes $100 million guaranteed makes him the highest paid cornerback in NFL history. I'm so happy we got AJ Terrell contract done already. That is crazy, man. That is crazy. Uh, Arbor will be out the door if he keep going to get $8 to $10 million a year, but I don't see the team giving up a second round pick for him though. Yeah, I don't know if you get a kicker 18 million. That's a lot of money for a kicker, man. $18 million a year. Are you talking about John Frankenmeyer's Atlanta? I hope so, man. I hope they do go try to go get John Frankenmeyer's with the price tag that it's just projections. I like those projections. So if they come in at 16 million, man, I mean at 13 million, I take that. That's 3 years, $40 million. Hey, if that's his projection, his asking price right now, you need to jump on John Frankenmeyer's right away. I do like that. Let's see another here. Um, I wish which Falcon team would have got Mike McCarthy for the head coach. I think you said I wish the Falcons would have got Mike McCarthy. No, nobody want Mike McCarthy. I disagree with you on that. Atlanta wants him. We don't want who? John Franklin Myers? Okay, yeah. We want. I want him too. That'd be nice. They still need somebody bigger than that though. I like John Franklin Myers in the middle, but they need somebody bigger than that. So, man, but yeah, that Trent McDuffie deal is huge. Whoa. All right, that's what I said. You make a trade and give up all that draft capital, you're going to sign that guy. And the same thing can be said about um, it's another report. Um, Ian Rappaport reporting from the insiders on NFL Network. The Ravens free agent center will become the NFL highest paid center with the Baltimore Ravens. The Raiders, the Commanders, and other teams are still circling. So, like I said, Tyler Linderbaum is going to get the bag, man. He's going to get the bag. The Raiders looking, the Ravens, and the Commanders. They saying other teams are too. So, man, that'd be nice to get the Tyler Linderbaum. Damn. Okay. All right, guys. The last thing we're going to talk about, we just talked about the whole quarterback situation, talking about free agency. It's going to be exciting starting tomorrow. We talked about a couple of guys that's going to make a lot of moves. Um, the question is, though, because this is an Atlanta Falcons show, how does it affect the Atlanta Falcons, right? All this movement we just talked about, how does any of this affect the Atlanta Falcons? So, right off the bat, the whole quarterback thing, like I mentioned earlier, it all depends on how the Atlanta Falcons brass see Michael Penix Jr. Right? I mean, and I'm not comparing because I just want to make sure you guys know what I'm thinking about is that the Kansas City Chiefs know that Patrick Mahomes is that guy, right? They know he's injured to his ACL, right? And they're not going out and get that guy to fill in and think he's the starter. The guy they bring in that's going to fill in for Patrick Mahomes knows when Patrick Mahomes comes back, he's going to be the guy, right? That's what I mean. Do the Atlanta Falcons, at this point, bring a quarterback in, and that's the mindset that once Michael Penn is healthy, he's the guy. Or do the Atlanta Falcons bring a quarterback in um, that say that even when Michael Penn is healthy, you can compete with him, and we'll see the best man win, right? Um, and you think about a guy like Kyler Murray, um, a guy like Tua, right? They're talking about on the younger scale, a guy like Malik Willis, right? Somebody that's younger that they can bring in and be like, we're going to bring you in, but you're going to compete with Michael Penix Jr., right? That's the question is. We'll find out here, pretty soon. The Atlanta Falcons mindset on who they decide to bring into the quarterback room, right? That's going to be interesting to see. When it comes to the other positions um, that the Atlanta Falcons have, we're looking at, this free agency, um, quandary that's out there, and how many different players out there. What is their flavor, right? Um, Last regime that was here for the Atlanta Falcons always, pretty much always, and Terry Fontenot 5 years here with the team, he always went for need in free agency, right? It was a big need for the team. That's the way he spent his money at in free agency, right? And then he went for best player available in the draft, right? So you don't try to, because you're not reaching in the draft. You don't want to reach for players that you need in the draft, right? You want to get the best player availables, right? But in free agency, you can actually go for need because you know what you're looking for. This is what we need. We're going to boost up this spot and create that need, get rid of that need for you, right? Now we're looking at Atlanta Falcons needs, right? It depends on what happened to K Nellis. Linebacker is going to be a need, right? Receiver is a huge need. Either way you sugarcoat it, I think they need to address receiver in free agency. I know they're going to probably address it in the draft as well, but they need to address a receiver in the need. And they get a veteran receiver in here that's going to be able to put beside Drake London because they do not have a another option on the team right now. So I think one of the positions you are going to see the Atlanta Falcons target in free agency is a receiver. Also, I think they need to go get a defensive tackle, right? They might even forego the linebacker and go defensive tackle first. And I'm just basing off what we heard from Ian Cunningham, what we heard from Matt Ryan, and what we heard from Kevin Stefanski when they said they want to build through the trenches. Um, so when you're looking at it like that, you go build the trenches, right? You build inside out. So they need a receiver no matter what, but I also think they need to build in the trenches. Eddie just talked about John Franklin Myers. If that's who they got in mind, go out and get him. That will help your trenches already 100%, right? Then they go get a receiver, right? We just talked about Rashid Shaheed. We talked about Wandale Robinson, Romeo Dobbs. They need to find a receiver in this free agency period as well. Um, then you go to the draft. You can add depth at linebacker. You can add depth at cornerback. You can add more depth at running back, right? You can even add more depth at the defensive line. But that's what I think that this is what Atlanta Falcons do. And if you look at the free agency market, they have these positions where they can actually fill some of these needs that they need from this team, right? You're gonna go get more offensive linemen. They can do that in the draft. That's what you're going to be able to do. But I think that one of the biggest needs for Atlanta Falcons, probably the biggest need, is the receiver position. They got to fill that. They do not have any receivers, right? And they need to fill, in my opinion, in the trenches. So that's definitely what the Atlanta Falcons should be considering. That's what they need to be thinking about. Um, and we'll see, right? Now, when you're looking at that cap situation, they do not have a lot of cap space right now. They only have 8 million on the caps. Now that will change once they release Darnell Mooney, Kirk Cousins, and Cardell Hodge, which already been reported. They put them up to about $19 million. Um, then they can go out and get John Frankenmeyer, Rashid Raheed, Romeo Dobbs, Wandale Robinson. They can go out and try to target those guys, but that's definitely what the Atlanta Falcons um, is going to be looking for. Now they still can make more moves to free up cap space. That we talked about that by doing some more restructures, things like that. We just don't know where the Atlanta Falcons stand in a lot of these situations. They probably in negotiations with Drake London Camp, get him a new contract. That's another route they could take. Same thing can be said about Bijan Robinson, and of course, getting a long term deal done with Kyle Pitts as well. That couldn't be considered. So, those are where some of the things when we think about Atlanta Falcons and how this free agent frenzy is going to affect them, as a team per se, right? their needs should be something they should be addressing in free agency, and then in the draft they add more depth and more competition at all the other positions. And he says the Falcons are just a player or two away, defensively with rotational depth, and most importantly, a quarterback that can manage the game. Hopefully, it's Penix. Yep, that's a lot of our mindsets, but you know, a lot of us a little down, right? I'm gonna be honest with you. We all kind of down. I think most of the fan base agree with me. Is the James Pierce Jr. situation, man? It sucks. I mean, the kid had so much potential um, to be, the next big pass rusher for the Atlanta Falcons, and for all intents and purposes, man, it might be over for him. So we got to play the waiting game on that. You hope a lot of stuff you read is not true because if it is true, I just don't see him getting out of it. I really don't. So that's one of the reasons why a lot of us like damn man, if we had him in the fold, it'll help the Atlanta Falcons because we factor in that pass rush is good, but now there's a question mark there with pass rush. Atlanta Falcons got to pivot, man. They got to start. They got to focus on pass rush again. Right? We do not want to go back to the purgatory in sacks. They broke for franchise record sack 57 last year. We do not want to go back into where we was having 18 sacks in the season. That's not where we want to go. So that's going to be huge for us, man. But it's just a little interesting. Um, they will go deep next season. It happens. I guarantee. There you go. I like the positivity. I like the positivity. Gunner, would you pay Drake London $30 million a year? That is the going price for a receiver. I'm sorry. For a number one receiver, the going price is between 30 to 35 million. That's the going price. You go look what Garrett Wilson got as a contract, right? And that'll pretty much tell you what Drake London should get. I think Drake London better than Garrett Wilson personally. But if you look at what Garrett Wilson got as a quarterback, I mean as a receiver, um, that's probably where Drake London is going to be around that 32 to 33. Go look what AJ Brown got. AJ Brown, Garrett Wilson. These are the comps. AJ Brown, Garrett Wilson, CD Lamb, right? Those guys, right? I'm not comparing him to JJ, Justin Jefferson. I'm not comparing to Jamar Chase. I'm comparing him to the guys in his range. Garrett Wilson, CD Lamb, um, AJ Brown, right? A DK Metcalf. That's the going rate. So unfortunate that that's what receivers get paid these days, right? And they count a lot towards the salary cap. But yes, I think he does deserve to get paid that much because that's where it is, right? Eddie says Drake is going to get 33, 37 million. Yes, I agree. That's the average, man. It is what it is. They have no choice, right? If they want to keep him, T. Higgins got kind of screwed a little bit because Jamar Chase on the team, he got like 28 million, right? And I think he settled a little bit because I think he could have went somewhere else and got more than that. Could have been a number one, but he wanted to stay in Cincinnati, so he took a little bit less to stay in Cincinnati. But Drake London don't have to say that. He can be like, I'm the guy. And he's literally the guy right now in that room. So, right, he's going to get that much. Unfortunately, they could say, well, you don't have that many 1,000-yard seasons, but the quarterback play that Drake London had to deal with over his career so far has not been good. We all say that, but he's still been productive despite of the quarterback play. So, and he was on pace last year to have a career year if he wouldn't have went down in week 12. So, um, I think Drake London definitely is going to be able to get his money. Um, Mike Garofalo said from the Insiders Network, the Eagles don't trade AJ Brown in the near future. Right now, the momentum has seen the stall. So yeah, so it don't look like AJ Brown is going to get traded. The asking price was just too much, man. Anyway, looking at some other stuff. The Falcons have hired a new staffer. I'm giving you guys all today. They hired Troy Crutchen, right? He's going to be the Falcons' defensive quality control coach, and that they bring home by. But yeah, they hired another person in their staff, right? So they're still trying to bring their staff in, guys, which is crazy. Um, so yeah. David Miller. This report saying that um, Atlanta Falcons will not be in on tour if he is released. Nice. All right, guys, that's it. I just wanted to check the news because I haven't checked news all day. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything talking about this show. We have a good day tomorrow. Hopefully, we have a lot to talk about our Atlanta Falcons. But I wanted to come here and talk about free agency because I mean, man, this is almost getting the NFL free agency is almost getting exciting as NBA free agency, man. Right? All the movement, player movement going on around the league, getting exciting a little bit, right? This right here, only thing that sucks about this is fantasy football because now when you're trying to build your fantasy football team, you got to find out what these players at and like who their quarterback is and how the offense runs and who the new coach is and you know if your player going to be able to put up the points they put up the year prior, right? That's what you got to think about. So, right, that's the only thing about this whole player movement thing. It's your fantasy football teams because it's going to be crucial to make sure you know where your guy's at, especially when you're doing your draft, right? You be like, where the guy at right now? Is he who he with? You like who's his quarterback, right? You got to think about that because, right? Anybody got like AJ Brown this year, right? He be like AJ Brown's a good receiver, but Tua don't like to throw. Hurts don't like to throw in the ball. So, right. So that's the kind of thing you think about when. So, um, that's the only thing about this fantasy this free agency period is fantasy football. It's going to be hectic this year, right? All right, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in today. Um, please put your thoughts, comments, share the video out to the masses about what we talked about today, the quarterback situations for all those different teams that need quarterbacks, the players and their contracts, how much money they're asking for, and that's not all of them, but we went over a couple of names, and then how this all means for our Atlanta Falcons um, moving forward, what they're going to be able to do. This is your boy Kondo coming back at you with another video. Peace.